On February 17, 2013, Marcellus Outreach Butler joined around 50,000 ralliers to demand that President Obama reject the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline, enact meaningful reforms for the extraction and use of all fossil fuels, including shale gas, and to demonstrate to our government officials and the fossil fuel industry that we will not stand for business as usual. 2 busloads of fractivists from the Pittsburgh region left early Sunday morning, braving snow and frigid temperatures to make the 5-hour trip to our nation's capital. When they arrived in D.C., they found sunny weather but a brutal and biting wind. Undaunted, the activists headed to the grounds of the Washington Monument at the intersection of 15th Street and Constitution Avenue. There, they found the beginnings of the massive rally. The rally featured speeches by a number of notable people. The program on the mall was emceed by Reverend Lennox Yearwood of the Hip Hop Caucus, who revved up the crowd and got us hopping up and down, chanting and dancing. Bill McKibben, author, founder of 350.org, and friend of Mob, was one of the first speakers. McKibben, as usual, spoke passionately about the need for climate action. Van Jones, once a member of the Obama administration and now president of the NRDC, declared that the Keystone XL decision is the only presidential decision anyone will care about in 20 years. Billionaire investor Tom Steyer laid out why investing in the fossil fuel industry is a bad investment. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island called on us to demand that our government step up. And Michael Brune of the Sierra Club spoke passionately about the need for climate action in the world we are leaving future generations. That was a message that really resonated for me. After the speeches, the march began. It was sort of like a rolling party. People had traveled hundreds, some even thousands of miles. But one thing about the climate movement, if you've been to any rally, you'll probably bump into someone you know at the next rally. But there's something else remarkable about climate activists. They're anxious to share their story and just as anxious to hear yours. I overheard conversations about tar sands, shale gas, mountaintop removal, and the disaster in the Gulf. I saw a large contingent of occupiers marching under a banner that read, "Occupy Sandy." Another remarkable thing about this rally and the climate movement in general is the diversity. There were folks from all over the country, even folks from Canada and some from Europe. There were indigenous people, African Americans, Asians, Hispanics, and whites. There were young people, old people, and people in the middle. There were veteran activists, and there were people who were involved in their very first political rally. Even though the weather wasn't particularly pleasant, the march was raucous. There were chants. "Hey, Obama, we don't want no climate drama." There were clever signs. One of my favorite was, "No jobs on a dead planet." There were costumes, including a clown, friend of Mob, Lisa DeSantis from Newcastle. There was a group of young people dancing, and coming near the middle of the march, many of the co-marchers danced right along with them. That was pretty amazing. I heard singing, too. Bill McKibben, in a letter to participants the next morning, said it well. "Movements," he said, "are about people, about all of us who put aside the things that we have to do because we understand that the future's at stake. To see so many people make this a priority on a day when it would have been much easier and warmer to stay inside says a lot." I echo that. I was inspired to see so many people gathered together for this cause. When you're involved in this movement, it's easy to get caught up in the hopelessness. It seems like every day brings a loss. But guess what? That's not the case. 50,000 people turning up on a bitterly cold day says a lot. But so does the fact that Sierra Club participated in the first civil disobedience in its 150-year existence. So does the fact that there are students in over 200 colleges who are pushing divestment, telling their colleges to divest themselves of fossil fuel companies. The folks in Appalachia who've been fighting mountaintop removal have started to turn the corner. Patriot Coal, one of the largest coal companies, says MTR does not fit in their long-term plans. And best of all, Politicians are starting to acknowledge that these extreme energy sources are dangerous. And right here in Butler County, our commissioners are having to answer tough questions. In the coming days, we're going to demand answers from them about why impact fees are not being spent on impacts. We're also going to demand that they answer questions about their own personal involvement in the industry. On the ride back from the rally, Karen and I sat on a metro car filled with other protesters. We heard from folks who live in Brooklyn, New York. They wanted us to know that they were with us. Same thing from folks from Michigan, Maryland, and Ohio. We're not alone in this battle.